Hello everyone, hope you all are doing well. Welcome to today's class. In this class, we're going to be discussing inventory management, which is an integral part of your overall A level business syllabus and, of course, your Unit 4. This is Chapter 2 in your Unit 4. So let's get started on this. So the first thing is, I'm assuming that many of you do not know very well what inventory management is, what the different terms are. So we're going to start by just discussing the different terms and how they can relate to the overall syllabus. So I'm going to be telling this in a uh, storyline sort of way, so that it is easier to understand and easier to digest and easier to remember when you recall this. So let's just start by this. So inventory, also called stock, refers to the materials and goods a business holds at any point in time. Effective inventory management is a balancing act. Hold too much and capital is tied up. Storage costs accumulate and goods risk obsolescence and or deterioration. Hold too little and production halts. Customers are disappointed and costly emergency orders are needed. So basically, the backbone of your entire structure and entire business is the inventory or stock that you own, that you hold with you at a given point in time. So in that scenario, if you hold too much stock, a lot of your money goes into that stock and it's stuck there until the stock sells, until the inventory sells. Or if you hold it and you do not have enough space to store it, that also becomes an issue. It also becomes a money issue and an issue from a managerial point of view. However, if you hold too less, it results in you not being able to complete your orders with your customers being angry with you, and just to meet the needs of the customers, you might have to place emergency orders with your suppliers. The operations manager must find the optimum level, enough to maintain smooth production and fulfill customer orders, but no more than necessary. So it must be enough such that it is not over the limit of over what you require, and it is not under what you require. So it is a very delicate balance. Next, we have some key terms and definitions that we need to study and memorize. So let's get started with this. However, we will just talk about this in a story like sort of way, so we can understand each and every term. So we're going to be discussing this here. We're going to be discussing this with Zara and her bakery. So basically, Zara runs a small bakery. Every week she buys flour, which can be seen here, sugar, eggs, and butter from her supplier, Mr. Hamid. These are her raw materials. Once she starts mixing and baking, those half finished cakes in the oven that you can see here, they are called her work in progress. All right. So she gets her raw materials from Mr. Hamid, who gives her flour, sugar, eggs, and butter. She uses that to make her cakes, and half baked cakes or unfinished cakes, those are her work in progress. Next, when they come out of the oven and they're all iced and boxed and they're put on the shelf, then they become finished goods, as can be seen here. Everything she holds, whether it is raw, as in this scenario, half done, as in this picture where it is her work in progress, or on the right hand side where she has finished goods, meaning they are ready to sell. All of these are her inventory. The next image, in this scenario, we will be discussing the next different things, which is that Zara is basically a careful businesswoman. She always keeps a small emergency reserve of every ingredient in the back of her storeroom. You know, so if Mr. Hamid is late, she has a safety cushion so that a late delivery or a sudden Friday rush where Mr. Hamid cannot deliver does not shut her bakery down. This is her buffer inventory. This buffer inventory allows her to just basically finish the orders, fulfill the orders that come in very late, or which are on a tight deadline, stuff like that. Next, Zara does not wait, and just when she is reordering, Zara does not wait until all her sugar is completely gone. So basically, she has put in something that she calls her minimum order quantity. The minimum order quantity is the least amount of a certain material that she holds before she reorders it. Meaning, if Zara orders like 20 kilograms every week, however, she is at her last 5 kilograms of sugar, as can be seen here, then she calls Mr. Hamid. This is her reorder level. All right, this is her reorder level. At the reorder level, she calls Mr. Hamid and asks him to bring her the sugar. She sets it above the buffer stock. Remember in the last slide we talked about buffer stock? She sets it above that because Mr. Hamid takes 3 days to deliver. The first day when she calls, the second day when he packages stuff, he transports it, and on the third day he delivers it. So she sets it above the buffer stock because Mr. Hamid takes 3 days to deliver after she calls, and that 3 day gap is called the lead time. All right, the 3 day gap is called the lead time. If he were slower, if Mr. Hamid took 4 days to deliver, then Zara would need to reorder even earlier. She would need to reorder when it was, for example, 6 kilograms or 7 kilograms left. All right, moving on. Next, we will be talking about economic order quantity, reorder quantity, and maximum stock level. Zara orders 20 kilograms of sugar each time because that is the sweet spot, right? It is a sweet spot, as we discussed earlier when we started off this lecture, that it should not be too much, the stock that you have, and it should not be too little, because in either scenario you will have to face an unpleasant outcome. So the 20 kilograms of sugar is the sweet spot for Zara. Ordering too little would mean calling Mr. Hamid constantly, and paying delivery charges every time. It would also lead to stress on her part, where she would need to wait for Mr. Hamid to deliver, ordering again and again. However, ordering too much in this scenario also means that bags would sit around for weeks. They would waste space and they would tie up cash. Because the cash would be spent here, Zara would not be able to use the same cash and spend it somewhere else, for example, on marketing. All right. So the ideal 20 kilograms is an economic order quantity. It is the sweet spot between holding costs, as shown here, and the orders, as shown here. Wherever they intersect on the graph, that is her economic order quantity. All right, with a buffer of 3 kg. So 20 kg is her economic order quantity, but she has also set 3 kilograms of a buffer, with a buffer of 3 kilograms. This means that including the buffer of 3 kilograms and a reorder of 20 kilograms, the most that Zara will ever hold is 23 kilograms, which is her maximum stock level. All right, I hope you're with me till now. The economic order quantity is the ideal amount of inventory that Zara needs to hold, which is 20 kilograms. However, she also has a buffer that we discussed early over here. That buffer is for emergencies. So including the emergency or buffer, she holds 23 kilograms, and that is the maximum stock level that she will ever hold. And that will not lead to high ordering frequency and costs, which was because of ordering too little, or it will also not lead to high carrying costs and wasted space, which was because of ordering too much. All right, now moving on. As her bakery grows, Zara coordinates everything from sourcing cheaper flour in another city, even to negotiating delivery schedules with Mr. Hamid, to partnering with a local rider who delivers cakes to customer stores. Managing this entire chain from raw material, from here, supplying, just coordinating with Mr. Hamid for deliveries, to producing stuff, to coordinating with, a local rider, everything, including the product reaching the final customer. All of these things are called supply chain management. Managing this entire chain from here all the way to the customer, All these things are called supply chain management. As a bakery goes, Zara coordinates everything from sourcing cheaper flour in another city to negotiating delivery schedules with Mr. Hamid to partnering with a local rider who delivers cakes to customers' doors. Managing this entire chain from raw material to final customer is her supply chain management. This is basically supply chain management, and this makes people make entire careers out of this because it is very complex and very time consuming, and very it is a very managerial job where you have to coordinate everything. So coming back, these are the definitions, so we're going to go through them quickly, as I hope that you now understand what everything is. Inventory: stock, materials and goods held by a business for use in production or sale to customers. As we discussed, that they can be used in production, they can be used, they can be held by you in raw form, or they can be held by you in finished form. These are all called inventory. Raw materials, these are the basic inputs, the flour, the sugar, the butter, the eggs. These are the basic inputs purchased from suppliers and used in the production process. They are held to ensure uninterrupted production even if supplier deliveries are delayed. All right. Then the work in progress, which we was shown here, the half finished cakes, partially completed goods that are at an intermediate stage of the production process. Work in progress, or WIP, is inevitable in batch and flow production, which we discussed in our previous lecture, where items move through distinct stages. You have to complete part of one thing until you move on to the next one. So you will always have work in progress. And then the finished goods, which are the completed products, the iced cakes that are boxed and ready to go. They are the finished goods, completed products that have passed through the entire production process and are ready for sale, delivery to customers. Next, we discuss buffer inventory, and we have discussed this, so I hope you know the minimum level of stock deliberately maintained. The keyword is deliberately maintained as a safety reserve to allow production to continue during unexpected delays in deliveries or sudden spikes in demand. So if there are unexpected delays when you are delivering something, when you are getting something delivered, when you're getting stock delivered to you, or there is a high demand by your own customers, then you can use the buffer inventory. This is also called the minimum stock level. All right, so buffer inventory and the minimum stock level, they are the same things. The reorder level, the stock level at which a new order is automatically placed with the supplier. This is set above the buffer stock to allow for lead time, as is shown here in this one. The reorder level is 5 kilograms for Zara. The reorder level for sugar is 5 kilograms. Even though her buffer is 3 kilograms, you can see it here. The buffer is 3 kilograms, however, the sugar is 5 kilograms set at reorder level. All right. This means that the reorder quantity, or the reorder level will always be set above, the buffer stock. All right. Next, the lead time, the time elapsed between placing a new order with the supplier and receiving the goods, i.e., the delay between ordering and delivery. So for Zara, this was 3 days. For Zara, this was 3 days for from day one to day three. All right. Next, a longer lead time requires a higher reorder level. Reorder quantity, the quantity of stock ordered each time the order level is reached. This is influenced by the economic order quantity. The economic order quantity here is the basically the reorder quantity that you have to maintain this for you to have ideal operations, that you would not be ordering too little or not be ordering too much. All right. So this is the reorder quantity. Economic order quantity, this is the order size that minimizes total annual inventory costs, holding costs plus ordering costs, balances the cost of holding large quantities against the cost of placing many small frequent orders, as we discussed here. This is the economic order quantity. I hope you understand this. Maximum stock level, this is the highest amount of stock held at one time, limited by available storage space and the financial cost of holding high inventory. Maximum stock is equal to buffer stock plus reorder quantity. So buffer stock here plus the reorder quantity leads to the maximum stock level of 23 kilograms. And then lastly, supply chain management, the coordination of all activities from sourcing raw materials through production and delivery to the final customer. Effective supply chain management, or SCM, reduces costs, improves reliability, and enhances quality throughout the value chain. I hope you understand inventory management well enough by now, and I hope this was easy for you to understand. Now we'll move on to the next thing.